Hi Khandaan listeners, Asim here, and I wanted to add a few notes on this episode before we get started. So from next episode, we will be running our listeners' choice poll, and it will be three Amir Khan movies. So you can choose between Jo Jeeta Wo Sikandar, Raja Hindustani, and Sarfarosh. And we might also fit in a Sanju review if it works out. We'll also probably be reviewing Sacred Games, and it might end up that it's on the U Podcast Bollywood edition feed and not on the Khandaan feed, depending on when it releases on Netflix. So you can subscribe to that too, and we have some great content on there. But for this episode, episode 14, we're reviewing Race3 and Khamoshi the Musical, and things derail very quickly. So first of all, this is not really a review because Race 3 is not really a movie. So if they don't make a movie, why would we want to make a review? So there's a lot of spoilers, and it's almost like us exercising our demons more than actually talking about the movie in any analytical terms. So we drop a lot of F-bombs in this podcast. So I just wanted to warn you, I've bleeped the most of them out. Some might have slipped under the radar, so apologies for that, but I've added like a chirpy noise. So if you hear a chirpy noise, it's like basically an F-bomb. I also make the mistake of calling one of the songs in Race 3 I Need Love when it's actually I Found Love. So that's a grave mistake, mea culpa. We also weirdly use a lot of Hindi and Urdu in this episode, more than we usually do, which we don't bother to translate. So if you have any questions, just tweet us, because I think all know where to find us. And on this podcast, I will ruin the word bro for everyone for all eternity. So everybody be warned, and welcome to the podcast, bro. Hi everybody, you're listening to the Khandaan Podcast by the U Podcast team, a bi-weekly podcast revisiting the movies of Amir Khan, Salman Khan and Shah Rukh Khan.
Every show we pick a random year from 3 decades of collectively 300 films the Khans have done and let our listeners vote which movie we should talk about. So it's entirely up to you.
Pick a team, make a vote, take us down nostalgia lane, punish us, or make us reassess a movie we dismissed.
We love the Khans, most of us, sometimes. And we would love for you all to be part of our Khandaan, because when it comes to the Khans in Bollywood, nothing else really matters.
Old podcast, bro.
Oh, God, no. I think Amrita doesn't get the reference.
Oh, the bro gets it.
I got it immediately, thanks, because it's so dumb. Even I could get the jokes even without watching it.
I think it's there in the trailer, right?
I don't think it goes as much. It's just a hint, bro. Like in the, you go in the movie and they fully commit to the bro.
You know what it is? It's what Remo D'Souza brings to the franchise.
Yeah.
It's him trying to relate to the youth and be relevant and cool.
Man, you know that it's Salu. Like, don't slander poor Remo like that. You know it's Salman sitting there like, this will be cool, bro. Like, we can put it in bro. Like, apparently he wrote the dialogues for quite a few things. Like, in the thing, like, he wrote the lyrics for that selfie song.
This movie has, like, 6 composers and 6 dialogue writers, and it's...
and one of them is Salman Khan, who wrote the Desi Shah. So, okay.
Let's start. Let's start, guys. Let's go.
No, I was thinking you were recording already.
I was, bro.
So, like, I don't know if you guys saw this, but, like, after the movie came out, there was apparently, like, a whole bunch of... Like, in that first couple of days when everybody was like, oh, no, it's a flop film. Because, like, it is a flop film, but it still made 200 crores at the box office. But people were kind of worried that the word of mouth was really bad and, like, Salman wouldn't make his usual amount of money. And, like, his fans got really upset. And they apparently decided that the reason why the movie sucked was all because of Daisy Shah. And I was like, look, I haven't watched the movie, but I've seen the trailer. And I can promise you that Daisy Shah is just one part of a very rotten whole. Like, I don't believe that in the least. But they were like abusing her, like left, right, and like really like maa behan ki galis. Like everything that Swara got, but plus like 100 million. It was disgusting.
It is.
And then Daisy went on some show to like talk about how it was a success. And she was like, actually, everyone keeps giving me all this grief about like, and she clearly like reads her feedback on social media. And she was like, actually, the line like, our business is our business, none of your business. I just want the world to know that was Salman Khan who came up with that line.
Manan Sheila.
She didn't just push Salman under the bus. She like backed up the bus and like drove right back over him. Like that woman, like, you know what? You know what? I don't give her grief for that because she really did. Like she was just hustling, right? She can't help it if the movie's shit. Like that's not her fault.
Yeah. There's way too many other players who are actually responsible for this shithole.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think we discussed it a bit last time. She's an outsider. She's trying to do what she can to, get her career going. I do not blame her, and I think it's terrible, bros, if anybody's, insulting her or anything like that. This is stupid. Go to the main bro. Bros. The main bro is definitely responsible for what's happening.
Stop it.
It's not gonna stop, bro. Honestly, like, the thing is, you guys know me, I watch dumb... By the way, just to put in context, we're talking about Race3 on this episode at the moment. We didn't even announce it, we just went into it full throttle, bros.
And I just want to point out that Asim is like a Salman Khan fan who loved like Lucky No Thankful Love.
Yeah. I've defended lots of shit. And in general, I watch terrible action movies, like B-grade action movies that are now straight to DVD with Scott Adkins. And I'll enjoy Triple X. I'll enjoy Fast and Furious, People that say, "Arey, isme kya logic tha, bro?" I'll watch that. I don't care, It's this, for me, it's the same thing as James Bond. It doesn't matter. Or Harry Potter. It's all the same nonsense, It doesn't matter to me. It's fun. So, this is, I can appreciate that. And I was like, okay, chalo, Doom jaisi hogi, bros. I'll go. It's fine, I'm gonna continue this.
Asim is committing to it, man.
I'm gonna commit more to this piece on the podcast than the cast committed to this movie. So yeah, I was like, okay, I don't mind, because a lot of it was like, it's a stupid movie, this and that. I was like, if it has some good stunts, some nice songs, some choreography, I'll be fine. Salman will take my hands like a bro and guide me through it, I'll be fine. Salman ke bharose,
Yeah.
I come in and then
like Salman is like Bewafa Sanam in this movie.
He totally is, yeah. Broke my heart, bro. So,
it's like, I don't give a shit what's going on. I've got trouble in my real life to deal with. So, I'm going to do this just for the paycheck.
So when the whole business is non-business, bro, all that thing happened, I was like, it's funny. Like, I was okay with it. I was like, this is ridiculous. It's almost like a meta level spoof of action movies, right? They're making it so horrible that we all know it's horrible, and we all become part of this, we're watching a terrible action movie, kind of a spoofy way. It's fine. So that's how I kind of went in. And I also went quite late because it was Eid celebration. Eid Mubarak, everybody. Eid Mubarak, bros.
Khair Mubarak.
Yeah.
Eid Mubarak, bros.
So I couldn't do that. So I came in a bit late. So I had heard a lot of the conversations. I'd avoided reviews. I was like, they're going to be shit anyway, as usual for Salman movies. So I'm not going to go there. I'm low expectations. I went in, and honestly, the theater was empty. There was nobody there. Like, it was me and like 4 people in the back. Initially my plan was to live tweet the movie, but because there were like 2 people sitting in front, I just felt it was a bit impolite. So I'm a respectful bros. So, so I come in, I was like, yeah, dumb action movie, blah, blah, blah. So the first shot is, there's a helicopter scene and Anil Kapoor comes out of it. And Anil Kapoor looks so hot, bros. Like, seriously, like, he looks so hot. Like, there's no other way to explain how good he looks. It's amazing. But then I noticed Normally, in a scene with a helicopter, the helicopter stop, you step out, you walk away, the rotors stop moving, right? In this movie, they don't stop moving. They go faster. And Anil Kapoor hair does not move. And I was like, oh, this is the kind of movie they're making. And I was fine with that, bros. I was okay. Like, okay, I get it. But then the further the movie got along, I was like, wait, I don't think this is the kind of movie they're making. They're with us. Like, there was a song where Salman Khan is wearing a goatee. Like a hipster fake goatee on his face. Like, Amrita,
and then gets out his Swiss Army knife and shaves it off.
Shaves it off because I think Jacqueline is trying to hug him and it kind of like is prickly. So he takes out a pen knife and he cuts it off in front of us and he's totally clean shaven. Amrita, I don't know if you know that he had a goatee.
Like this movie, a part of this, for no reason whatsoever, takes place in Beijing.
Yeah,
or so Shanghai.
He has the goatee. The goatee is in Beijing. It's a Beijing goatee. And like the thing is, he's like remember when I was in Beijing and suddenly flashback, he turns. You see Jacqueline come in, Salman turns around, no reason he has this fake goatee. And I was like, wait, is he in disguise? What's going on? Like, what is this? And they'd taken it away from all marketing. It wasn't there in the song. And I was like, what is going on? And then the goatee is happening while Salman is singing a song. Guys, Salman is singing a song in this movie that says, I need love.
In auto-tune.
Wait, Salman himself is singing?
Yeah. He himself is singing and he wrote it himself.
Oh.
I need to get I need to find the lyrics of this because I don't think Amrita... Basically, this is not a review. I'm just telling Amrita what happened basically.
I found love is the song. Okay, let me fucking.
And there's English lyrics obviously mixed into the non-English lyrics, right?
Yeah. By the way, if anybody cares, this is a spoiler. This is not a spoiler-free review. Why you would care, I don't know, because this is clearly not a film where you should care about things like spoilers. But oh my god,
Amrita.
So here's the lyrics, all right? Nazre saase mile, jab hum aur tum mile, pehle ka bhool jaye, abhi aur future ka soche. Nobody knows what the future holds for us. Let's give it our best. Oh jana jana jana, oh baby.
This is my best line. It's not oh Jana, it's like Jana 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 baby.
Do you remember a few years ago there was this thing where somebody was like, I forget what it was, like somebody was like, it was a joke or they wrote it a tweet, I don't know, but it was like, imagine like a reunion of the people that made Sholay, and like Amitabh Bachchan is there and like Javed Akhtar is there and Salim Khan is there and then everybody's like talking about their kids and there's like this uncomfortable silence when they start talking about things that their kids have done.
Is this a sketch? I don't know this. I've never heard of this.
I can't remember. I just remember laughing really loudly when I read it first. But I always think about it, like Salim Khan, like one of like the greatest duos of like writing duos in like cinematic history. It's not even like Hindi cinema, like cinematic history. And selfish and I need love.
Oh, wait. Okay. Yeah. Selfish reminded me actually. So, okay. Coming back to I Need Love. Imagine you have a Salman movie where people are fully, it's a Salman movie, you'll go. And they purposely don't show this song in the marketing. How bad does that song have to be?
Actually, you know, my favorite Bollywood person is Faridun, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, your favorite singer and Amrita's favorite journalist, Faridun Sheriar. We have to give the full title.
Why me? I have
so
mentioned.
Bollywood Hangama has covers all these exclusive events where they are showing muhurats and not muhurats, like announcement of teaser trailers. And in one of these, like Salman is actually singing this song live.
Allah.
I Found Love in front of a live audience, and I can just I can't cringe harder. Like
Allah duhai hai, Allah duhai hai.
oh, well done.
So the Selfish song, I have to say. So the first time the Selfish song comes in, it comes in the movie with they're having the full-on bro conversation. Everybody's broing each other. Daisy's full-on broing. Saqib is broing. Saqib bros the worst, actually. The funny part is I feel nobody has ever used the word bro in a conversation in all of their life, and now they have to be forced to do it in this movie, and they're not actually sure how to say the word, so it's really funny. But so Selfish is an acoustic version in the song, and in the movie, just to put like the highlight of Yulu Vantur's voice, on a platter, like ye hai, le lo, bros. So at that moment when the I Need Love happened, I was like, man, they're with us, with the audience. Like, this can be real.
Like in a way that Sajid Khan does. Like I can get away with it.
Yeah, exactly, like that way. But then it became very violent, and I understand that this movie hates us. This movie hates us as people, and it wants to punch us in the face repeatedly while the movie screams obscenities at our face.
Like an angry avocado. Angry avocado.
Yeah. And sorry, bros, we went a bit X-rated. I'll try to bleep it out for the bros, but there's no other reason. There's no other explanation that I had. That was the main giveaway. This movie hates us, and Remo Fernandez. It's Remo D'Souza, sorry. Remo. Race3, Khamoshi is coming later on. Hayyaho.
Remo D'Souza.
One of the Remos hates us, basically. Bloody Remos.
Yeah.
And can I say...
Asim,
I'm not done, goddammit.
Go on.
Our Salman fans have hopes, some hopes that I will find something positive, and I'm here to tell them, no, bros, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
No, honestly, and the funny part is, isn't Remo a good choreographer? Am I mistaken in that? Why is the choreography so bad in this movie?
Because the songs are bad. Everything is bad about this movie. There is no redeeming quality to this movie.
The only two moves Remo has is that they have a group of bunched people around the main guy, and then they jump away, and it's in slow motion and legs flaring in the thing. And then otherwise they'll be running, and that'll suddenly be in slow motion. That's the only move Remo has, apparently. I hate his choreography. I hate him. I hate him, bros.
I hate his movie. I hate his choreography. I hate his face. I hate his name.
I hate him. I hate what he did to Salman, man. I hate it. Honestly, this is what happens when Salman doesn't work with strong directors. He just does whatever the hell he wants, and they cannot control this guy. He's just on. It's not even autopilot mode. It's on with you mode. Really, he is with Remo, and Remo is with us. It's like a human centipede of bros. Sorry, Sujoy, I cut you off, please.
Yeah, let's get back to Bobby Deol's nipples.
That's the end of the movie. We're not even there yet, bro. Can I just say, the moment, you know the clumps, right, where they go, Hercules, I was
what? What? Who's Hercules?
Is this thing in, what is it, the Nutty Professor with Eddie Murphy?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
okay.
I'm just jumping from one thing to the other, bro. I'm sorry, bro.
I thought there was I thought Bobby Deol's name and this was Hercules.
No. So, it's just like a little chant, but it was every time Bobby Deol came on screen, I was like, oh, good for Bobby. Anything he used to say, I was like, oh, good for Bobby. Oh, mera pyara Bobby. Bobby. I was so like happy for him that he got to do stuff. I wasn't mad at Bobby, man. Like, poor guy, he was so confused throughout. He's like he was like us as the audience, like Salman Hawale, like Salman bhai, whatever. Just, guide us in the right way and, yeah, Salman, bro. Yeah. Yeah, nipples are impressive though. I tweeted this too. I don't like this whole, I don't want to be like a body shamer or anything like that, but I was in super screen and I was in the front row and they were like in my face in like, huge digitized things. So I was like, wow, those are some very big nipples. Sorry.
Little dinner plate. Bobby dinner plates coming at you.
Yeah. And because they come in slow motion, they're very in our face, like, both Salman's nipples and his nipples. And Salman's nipples are tiny, like cute little tiny nipples.
Are we still talking about that?
Amrita bro wanted it, so I'm like expanding upon it. And, but I mean, they're like ghar ke nipples, you know them. They're ghar ke nipples. They've been part of the family for the last 20 years, no? Yeah, we've seen these nipples. But Bobby's nipples are new nipples.
What the hell is this podcast?
I think I saw an interview about when Bobby Deol was saying like he was like long time back when he was not having any films, he asked Salman to, for a favor, and Salman was like, shirt nikalega, and he was like, no. And probably this was the one where he agreed to do that.
And can I also say that none of these men should take off their shirts at this point in their life? I mean, I'm glad that they do some push-ups every 2 weeks and stuff like that, but they do not look good enough to take off their shirts. I do not agree with it. I mean, Salman, like, bank it. I think at this point, I don't want to see Salman in a club anymore. I don't want to see him wear these weird hipster clothes. Like, Salman is the worst dressed in this movie out of all of them. It's insane. Like, I don't know what he was wearing. He's like wearing, that when he was in that oh my god phase where he was wearing these like motorbike boots with heels in steel, and he was like very embroidered, an embroidered...
Elvis.
Yeah, like embroidered butt jeans, that kind of thing. And he's like full on back on that. I was like, what are you doing? He looks bloated. He looks terrible. And I mean, the girls look great. Daisy looks great. Saqib looks great, like well dressed. Anil is super hot, bros. I've told you before.
I bet Salman is wearing his Being Human clothes.
No, he's not. He's like purposely choosing terrible clothes. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Like, maybe it is Being Human clothes. I've not gone to the website in like 2 weeks.
I would just like everyone to know that I have never been to a Being Human store, but once upon a time, Asim did ask me if I could get him some Being Human clothes.
I've tried many times. I'm waiting for them to open a shop here. I want that. I want to dress like that guy, bros.
He wants the embroidered jeans, basically.
Yeah, I'm basically just jealous, man. I want that embroidered jeans, and especially those motorbike boots with the steel top heels.
Oh dear.
Oh god. Oh god. And I think the girls actually come out okay. Like, Daisy has beautiful hair. That's the one takeaway I have.
Yeah.
Jacqueline is actually probably the second best performer in this movie, honestly. Like,
After Anil.
Anil is the king. Like, really, Anil is the king. Like, Anil has... So, Amrita, they come from a village, and in this movie, right? And it's a village called Handia, and I know this because they named the village at least 50 times in this movie. I want to go back to Handia. I'm from Handia. Remember when we were in Handia? I think hardly.
Wait. What is the story? Is there a story? Tell me the story.
Okay. So this movie has nothing to do with the previous movies, which I thought it was kind of a continuation or anything like that. There's no connection whatsoever. So it's kind of a...
Like Race 2 didn't have anything to do with Race 1, right? It's like a completely new story.
I didn't know. I didn't watch Race 2. Race 2 is the one where John Abraham does splits in a club, right? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
See how I remember how I catalog movies in my mind. This is like an insight how Asim's brain works. It's a split, John Abraham split movie. So no connection whatsoever. Anil Kapoor is an arms dealer, and this is his family. Okay. Daisy Shah and Saqib are twins. They're twins in this movie. Right? Salman is his brother's son the brother got killed, so he kind of like, Aaja mere paas beta. You know, that kind of thing. So their uncle, Bhatija, whatever. But he sent him off to Beijing to study there and then to keep him safe, right? And then Bobby Deol is the bodyguard. Apparently he's a bodyguard. He's the worst bodyguard in the world. He doesn't come on time. He hates everybody he's bodyguarding. And he almost seems more to be Salman's langotia yaar than a bodyguard. But he's been in Beijing his whole life. So I don't even understand why he's like, oh, tu to marta hai us pe, bro. You know, and it's like, wait, didn't they just meet? Anyway, so that's the basic premise of the story. They're arms dealers, and then they have a rivalry with another gang. But then Daisy Shah and Saqib want to get Salman out because they want Jaidat Hadapna. They want all of the empire, and that's kind of like they start doing these conspiracies, and that's one upship. I don't want to spoil the movie, Amrita, obviously. So I'm,
Okay, I'll do that for you.
Yeah, go ahead, Sujoy. Like, we need two people to explain the plot, basically. Go ahead, bro.
So then there's like this whole Jaidat angle to it. Then there's some sort of MacGuffin going on about a secret videotape with lots of password and everything, and it's locked away somewhere in Malaysia, and that's why
Cambodia.
Cambodia mein they
This is important, Amrita. We're not like specifying just for shit's sake. It's important plot points in the movie. Yeah.
I mean, there's car chases, there's explosions, there's lots of betrayal, and eventually nobody gives a fuck about what happened to that part of the story.
Yeah. So
that's it.
Yeah. So basically, the twist at the end is that Anil Kapoor had actually killed Salman's dad. He wasn't killed by an outside gang. So Salman is like full khunnas. So he's been having khunnas for like the last 10 years. He knew. So that's another twist. He knew for the last 10 years that Anil had actually killed him. And then Saqib, Salim and Daisy were actually naturally born to the mother of Salman. So Salman and Daisy and Saqib are actual bros. Right? And twist per twist.
Wait. So Daisy and Saqib are Salman's mother's kids, but their dad is Anil.
No. It was all a lie.
Turns out it was
all a lie.
All the dead fathers.
Yeah. So this movie claims that Salman Khan, Daisy Shah, Saqib Salim come from the same gene pool. So this is what it's claiming, first of all. And then twist per twist, Bobby Deol is actually Anil Kapoor's son. Twist per twist. Yeah, twist per twist.
And Jacqueline Fernandez is Interpol officer.
Oh, right. She's also from Malaysian Quantico, like Priyanka Chopra was. It's the same batch. Same batchmates, bro.
Yeah.
Or twista, like any other twist we're missing? There's a lot of them. Like if you they come really fast. If you miss one, agli wali pakad lenge. It's fine.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So the first 20 minutes is this explaining this whole point ke Salman iske papa ka chacha ka mama ka sotela bhai hai. Like it's like 20 minutes of the movie that they explain. Everybody gets like a cool intro and suddenly, it'll go slow-mo, hair will pop in the air and then they'll do some cool action things. You know what I do like in Race 3? Unbelievably, I like the practical stunts in it. There's some really cool car chases in it. There's an awesome fight between Jacqueline and Daisy. Like they go quite hard, like in terms of martial arts, both of them. Which your favorite singer and your favorite journalist Faridun Shehryar called a cat fight, which I hate as a term. Like, just because two women are fighting, you suddenly call it a cat. Yeah, stunts are good, but then they intercut with this really cheap camera work on the reaction shots, and it takes you out of the movie completely. So, yeah, it's all in all terrible. I hated it. I came out depressed in life. And, if Trump and Brexit and the current political climate hadn't killed the humanity in me, I would be crying. Bros.
Yeah. You, Trump and Brexit and all of that has prepared you for Race3.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if anybody's been in fights before, but there's a moment before a fight starts where you clench your fist and get ready. You pump up your shoulder muscles and your biceps, like, this is gonna hurt and I'm gonna hurt back. That moment, that's Race3. Allah.
I think we are done.
Allah duhai.
Oh my God.
Do you have any questions, Amrita? Is there anything of the explanation we've given? Like, bros, explain that part a little bit. Like, how did that happen, bros?
I don't know.
You have to ask as bros. You have to be our bro to ask.
I think I'm going to... Okay, here's a question for you. Should I watch this when it comes out on streaming?
If you have nothing better to do with life.
No. Bring friends over, get drunk, watch it. Like, honestly, watch it that way. Like, get people over. Don't watch it alone. Or, get drunk and live tweet. Like, some sort of inebriation is required, bro. Like, some level. Like
Race3 bingo.
Yeah.
I'll be like, take a shot every time Saqib Salim says bro.
Yeah. Basically, the movie...
I'll probably die of alcohol poisoning at that rate.
You can do like every time to say bro, you take a shot, you take a line, you take you shoot heroin, one of those things. Somebody will die at the end of this movie, the audience member. Like, do something. It's basically like Jai Ho meets Dhoom 3, I think. I think that's purposely what they were trying to make. Like, it's very much like Prem Ratan Dhan Payo meets Bad Boys.
It's like Jurassic World meets Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
It's Nicolas Cage and Steven Seagal.
Yeah, totally. Like Inception meets My Dinner with Andre.
Like E.T. meets Rawan. Like.
Exactly, totally. Just put any movie together. That's that. Okay.
So, so I went to watch Mr. India yesterday, right?
Yeah, let's do a little lift plug though, at least, right? This is the thing I really want to hear from you, actually.
So we all grew up loving Mr. India. Anytime from any moment it's being televised, it's streaming or whatever, I will watch the entire movie. And this was the first time I was watching it on a big screen rather than my television screen, and it feels so much like going back home and being welcomed into that world where all the characters, all the lines, be it like the really bad and evil, single-mindedly evil Amrish Puri and Arun Bhaiya and Tina and all the kids and Calendar and Roopchand, Daga, Teja, and Seema, and even the editor played by Anu Kapoor, and like the strength of all these characters and the story from chapter to chapter, it flows through so seamlessly. It's the strong writing of Salim Javed, and we were talking about how Salim Javed were such great writers, and then we have Salman writing Selfish in this movie, and it just I really want Salim Javed to write one more movie at least, so that, I don't know, I mean, are they too old? Are they too senile now to collaborate on a project? It just seems like I don't know.
I think you just want like some awesome writer duo to make movies again, and I think that's what we're lacking. I don't think Salim Javed should ever come back again. I think that time is over. Or maybe if there's some old script or idea that they have lying around, and then they can give that to somebody like totally offbeat, like what's her name, Jui Chaturvedi, she the one that did October, like that kind of like weird setup would be cool. But I got some questions for you actually about it, because I couldn't make the screening. I was disgusted by it, and so this was part of LIFF, the London Indian Film Festival, which is still going on for 5 days in London, and there's lots of tons of movies that people can still watch. But this was the Sri Devi tribute, right?
Yeah.
So I always say there's a few major tragedies in Bollywood. One is that Janeman released on the same day as Dawn. And second is that there's no decent print of Mr. India available anywhere. So how was the crowd? Like, was it sold out? Were they totally into it?
It was quite full, but I don't know if it was part of like people who got passes or people genuinely bought tickets to get there. It was kind of like 80% occupancy. The people, and quite surprisingly, there was a lot of non-Desi people.
Yeah.
There were quite a lot of older people who brought their younger ones to watch the movie. Because they had fond memories of the movie, perhaps.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of people who hadn't seen this movie, and there were quite a lot of media journalists who were laughing along with other people who were loving the slapstick as well as. But the problem is, because this was subtitled, right? The joke is already said and the subtitle appears, so the people who are non-Desis, they were laughing after like 2-3 seconds.
And how was the print? Because like a lot of times I've noticed when you watch a theatrical print,
it is a remastered print. So it felt like it had been remastered. I think it was a digital projection. It wasn't a film projection. So it was quite clean. I think we have some, like on YouTube, Shemaru has uploaded like remastered 1080p Blu-ray rips of the Mr. India songs. Not sure if the movie itself is completely out or not, but yeah.
And were there like scenes that you had like new scenes? Sometimes it happens when you watch something in theater, you see a scene that wasn't in the print you had seen. Was there anything like that? No?
No, I just had, because it's been a long time since I watched Mr. India. I just brought back memories of scenes that I had completely forgotten about. Like, Bob Christo, when he is in the Powai Palace, when he sees the Hanuman golden god idol for the first time, and then Anil Kapoor, takes charge and he starts beating up people. And then he says, Indian god marta bhi hai.
I love that. He's like, Mera Bajrang Bali, Acha Bajrang Bali, Mera Bajrang
Bali. There's some really magical scenes of like slapstick, like Sridevi doing the whole chaplain routine in the Jua Khana and all that.
Man, I used to love that, and only years later I understood that they called him the Bacha. I thought that was so funny, and I never got that joke when I watched it as a kid.
Yeah. Jugal is, he says, I am the Bacha, and it appears in the subtitles, it's written as Dabacha.
Oh, God.
And then I got to, I realized that. Also, I realized that Calendar is gay.
Yeah, I do that. I don't know what you were doing. I think we all knew. Did you not?
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that about Calendar until like quite recently, I think.
Because when they go to Rupchand's, that ration dukan, and he's like, Rupchandji, Arun Bhaiya says, and Calendar says, hello, Rup.
It's like, this is like classic Hindi cinema, right? Like, especially Salim Javed type filmmaking, where you watch it as an adult and you get like a whole new context for the things that you loved as a child, where you're just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That was what was going on.
And the whole subplot of Anu Kapoor's Wrong Number. Oh my god. So hilarious.
God. And when he's just done at the end, right? Like when he's like, even like, when he had the appearance with Sunai nahi deta, tu dikhai nahi deta. It kills me. But I felt that, like Calendar and like this in my mind, Roopchand and Calendar were having a low-key affair, and there were moments where, he would do sexual favors for flowers for the kids. Like, in my mind, it's all very dark. Like,
oh my god.
I take it one level further, bro.
What is wrong with you?
And as you can see, I know exactly what this movie is because I can tell you exact dialogues. I've seen this movie enough. I'm telling you, Roopchand and Calendar were low-key banging. Boom! Childhood destroyed.
Abbas Mustan level mindfuckery. Like.
I hope they were like really in love and like now they're running like a super like high quality florist ki dukan in like Bandra and like
rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah. Like a vegan soup shop.
Pumpkin spice latte.
I love that movie.
By the way, like we have I know like a bunch of our friends keep going to London quite a bit. So I don't know how many people who listen to this podcast might be going to London. But if you're going to London, then check out the BFI, which is where the LIF is held. The London Indian Film Festival is held every year. And the BFI is in the South Bank, which is in the center of London. And they usually have like really cool things. They have a lot of classics. They put up like really amazing prints of movies, like Indian movies as well as Hollywood movies and like European movies that you might enjoy watching on the big screen, and you might never have the opportunity to watch it on the big screen elsewhere. So if you're in London and you don't, you have it like an evening free and you don't know what's up, just go to the bfi.org website and just check out what they have on, because it's always a good program.
Yeah, and it's also a lovely location. Like you could like have a nice walk in the afternoon, walk to the South Bank, go and watch a movie. It's really I totally I agree with you there. Yeah, definitely people should check out. So should we move on to our main review now, or do we have any other points? Amrita, did you watch anything super shitty or super good this week?
I actually do. Like I really love the title song of Dhadak.
Me too.
Like the picturization is like whatever, like they're cute and whatever, but the song is like, am I crazy? Like maybe like it's just because I've been listening to like Punjabi rap for the last few years non-stop, but I kind of feel like it's a modern classic. Am I wrong?
I love it. I was thinking the same thing. Is it just because we've not had any good music the last year and a half, or is this actually a really good song? And I think it's a really good song. I
feel that too.
I love it, and I think the video of it looks very nice. I'm enjoying seeing young people in love, and they do that really well in Dhadak. And it's funny because I get a lot of shit from people like, oh, you haven't seen Sairat, especially from our good friend Josh Hurtado, oh, Sairat, and this is like I've heard it a lot of times because sometimes I praise Jhanvi, because I have a soft spot for her mom, it's like a lamhe situation,
Let's not go there.
So
I don't know what's up with Asim today, but
I thought you were gonna follow that up with something. It just says something is up with Asim. That's it.
That's it. समझदार को इशारा ही काफी है.
So I kind of a few times retweeted and people were like, oh, you should watch Sairat and stuff like that. So I went back and I didn't watch the movie, but I was watching some interviews and I was also watching the original of I think it's called Zinghat, which is probably going to be the next song that Dhadak soundtrack comes out, because it seems like a banger. And they're very different movies. It's I understand people are pissed off that they're remaking this small Indian like amateur kind of movie with amateur actors that was very small scale into this big launch for these nepotistic actors and stuff like that. But I feel it's a totally different product. And Dhadak, the song, the main title song, it really shows what the movie is going to be. And I think it does a really good job, and it's a really good song. I love it. I've put it on like at least 20 bar. Like 20 times I've put it on already, which doesn't happen that much, There's really not been any songs in the last year and a half that I've listened to a lot, honestly.
Yeah. Like all the, like, I think like the last like soulful song that I can remember is probably Mere Rush Ke Kamar from that Ajay Devgan Ileana D'Cruz movie. But that's a Pakistani song. Like they just had somebody sing it in an Indian film. So I don't think, I honestly can't think of like a Hindi song that's come out in the past couple of years that has made this much of an impression on me.
Yeah. And
it's really cute.
And it's also like, if they have this one and they have Zingat, so that's already 2 good songs in one album, which is amazing. That's like, like, otherwise you have one song and that's it. So I'm getting slowly excited for Dhadak, weirdly enough. So, yeah. Which is cool. Anything else you wanted to say about that, or that was it?
No, that was it. It was just like a cool song that I heard.
Yeah.
Okay. Khamoshi?
Yeah, Chahat. Yeah, so it was between Chahat and Khamoshi won it, which was kind of.
I'm so glad that Khamoshi won, though. I have no intention of watching Chahat.
Hey man, like the songs are really good, because I was rewatching it and I was like, I've been singing the Chahat songs in my mind the whole week.
Oh dear.
So, but that's enough. I don't want to see the rest of the movie necessarily. So I got what I wanted.
There's Shivagami in the movie.
Yeah, she's really good, and she's like getting aroused by everything. Like piano touches her, she's like aroused. She's sucking on Shah Rukh's thumb, she's aroused. She's like has a glass of ice cube, she's aroused. It's
Oh, speaking of aroused, like Sridevi in Kaate Nahi Karte. Oh my god.
Wait.
Oh my god.
Oh, I can just imagine.
Yeah.
I
don't want to imagine.
Like Saroj Khan said, like she was having like 101 fever or something during the shooting of that song, and she just nails it. Oh my god. Wow. Anyway, coming back to Khamoshi.
Yeah, I'm again pissed off that I missed that. So we're talking about Khamoshi, and it's actually, the name is Khamoshi the Musical. It's not Khamoshi, it's Khamoshi the Musical. It's Sanjay Leela Bhansali's debut, and we've not actually talked about Sanjay Leela Bhansali, so this is kind of great. We can do that, right? And then
Asim's been like, nailing his filing his nails just to prepare himself for this conversation about Sanjay Leela Bhansali.
I have. And funnily, when this came out, so it flopped. It didn't really do well at the box office.
Let's go for the jugular.
And so
when it came out, it flopped.
And funnily enough, this was the same year that Nana Patekar plays Manisha Koirala's dad in this movie, and they also played together in Agni Sakshi, where he was playing her husband in the same year. So you, Bollywood, just kind of wanted to add that. That's like really messed up.
And Nana Patekar won the Filmfare for Agni Sakshi and not Khamoshi.
Yeah. So it's some straight up insanity going on. And I don't know. Amrita, do you want to maybe give kind of a plot summary for people? Because I feel that it's one of those movies people haven't necessarily watched that much, gone back and revisited. So I think this conversation might be kind of cool because, if you haven't seen this movie, I think it's worth seeing. So can you maybe give a plot summary? I'm just biding you time so you can like think and if you hadn't prepared something.
Well, it's set in Goa, and it's about this young woman who can sing very well, as this guy that comes by and like discovers her by accident, like discovers that she can sing really well. But her problem is her 2 parents who live a life very shut away from the world, and romantically enough, they manage this lighthouse in Goa, and they basically shut themselves off from the world, and they live this very isolated life at the lighthouse. And the reason they do that is because they're deaf and also mute, I think.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really great concept. Like, it's a very arty concept almost, It's about this, and you kind of see the beginnings of the minds of Bhansali, Like, you see themes that he later explored in other movies that he made, where, that you have this young woman and she's imprisoned in this very romantic sort of fairy tale existence. She's really a damsel in distress, and then this prince comes and like he's there to save her, but then she, the two of them need to like battle against these tremendous odds, and the odds are all emotional. They're not always physical. They're like emotional bonds that like imprison her, and she needs to break free, and she's got this sense of like a romantic fairy tale past that's sort of pressing her in, and it gives flight to her imagination, but also like imprisons her within it. And there's all these like grand themes, but Bhansali didn't have the budget back then to do the things that he would do later. So it's a very it's almost like a plainly made film, and it's also like the late 90s, so people didn't really know what they could do. In Bollywood, like people were still making like chota mota films basically. So so it's a cute enough movie, I guess. it's just like, the thing is like, so that I've talked about this before, I think, where like any director's first film is the film where you can actually see his heart, because it's the movie that he's put like, and he's been dreaming of making, and he finally makes it, and he puts his all into it, and he's like invested everything he has into it, and you can see the heart of that director. And so you can actually see where Bhansali is coming from, and you can see the things that he's passionate about. The music is amazing. Like, even though I don't remember parts of the film, like when I watched it again, I was like, oh yeah, like this happened, and oh yeah, that happened. But I remembered each and every one of the songs. Like the songs were sort of like integrated into my DNA. Like I hadn't listened to the soundtrack in like 20 years, but the moment I heard it again, I was like, I knew each and every word. It was immediate, So you can see all that in this film. It's a really long film, and it just goes on and on and on. And it's got Manisha, and Manisha's acting exactly the way she's supposed to act. Like, she's just very dramatic, and she's like flinging herself about and like screaming, and like she's really shrill. But the thing is, like, that's the reason why I can't stand Manisha. Like I've addressed my Manisha loathing before on the podcast, and this is basically like this, and like, but basically every single one of her films. But I can't stand it. Like, she's just weepy and red-faced and pink wobbly-nosed and shrill, and I can't stand it. I really can't stand it.
Oh, wow, okay. Sujoy, man, I thought you were live tweeting a little bit when you were watching the movie, right? So what did you think about revisiting him?
I hadn't seen Khamoshi in a very, very long time, and I remember watching it like in bits and pieces. I hadn't watched the whole movie, but you get to know all these movies by people who talk around you, and the soundtrack has been with me for so many years. It was one of those soundtracks that I collected pocket money for. I saved up and then bought the audio cassette, and it was that great. So revisiting Khamoshi, there is no decent fucking print on YouTube, or there are no good rips on Netflix or Amazon Prime. So who is responsible for that? I'm coming for you. And secondly, it starts like in an episodic fashion. It's the story of this singer's life. the struggles that she goes through, her childhood, all the emotional trauma that a little girl can go through, being blamed for, death in the family, being responsible for being the grown up in the family and taking care of her own parents, and yet also nurturing the dream of this art of becoming this artist that she's sort of inherited from her grandmother, which it was a revelation to watch Helen on screen after a long time back then.
Yeah.
It was a really good casting choice, I suppose. But again, having said that, as the movie progresses in episodes, there are bits where it feels very, very lengthy unnecessarily. It just feels like, just get on with it. And this movie could have been much better if it was edited well and could have been, just held together within 2 hours or so. But it just kept on going and forever. That's what I think of Khamoshi, really.
It's a funny one because on the one side, Amrita, like you were saying, you can really see what a director is about in the first movie, but you also see that he hasn't really figured out how to make a movie, and especially in terms of pacing of the movie. So there's so many themes in this. So there's obviously the idea of this isolated world that these guys live in because of the disability of the parents. And she wants to sing. So she wants to enter a world that is completely away from a world that her parents can be a part of. So it's not just that she wants to leave them, but she wants to leave them for a world that they can never join her in. So there was a very tragic, idea there. But on the other hand, they also have these themes about religion and losing God and losing trust in God, because she also has a younger brother that dies, because this movie is a lot of misery porn, basically. Like a lot of bad shit happens to these people, and then at the end when there's a very shrill kind of big scene where Manisha is yelling at her parents, who cannot hear what she's yelling, but she's just so frustrated by it because I think they kicked her out because she's pregnant. And she's screaming, do ka panch ka do, and all that kind of thing, which is a big tragedy. She also says, you blame me for Sam's death. You had me buy the coffin for my grandmother when I didn't even know what death meant. And it was like, wow, when does this happen in the movie? It didn't they didn't even show these very key tragic moments that Manisha's character held so tightly to her, but then we get to spend 20 minutes doing pauna pache on the road, it's a lots of pauna pache, so it's like the pacing is all off in this movie. And even the idea, there's this whole idea of Salman being the city boy coming into the village, falling in love with this girl. She becomes pregnant, he goes back to the city, and then he has to come back. And this is the plot points of entire Rishi Kapoor movies back in the 80s, right? This was the whole, I don't know what they're called, those movies, Sajan Gaye Yahan Ya Wahan Gaye, all that kind of Sajan Gaye The Aaye The Kabhi, that kind of thing. Pata nahi aayenge ki nahi. Yeah. So this is the entire plot movie, and in Khamoshi it's 3 scenes. She's just pregnant, he throws her out of the room and Salman is back. It's what happened? This is not how pregnancy works. It takes
the case of the impatient father.
Yeah, but also impatient. You didn't even have your 20-week scan, yaar. I have specific knowledge of how this works. You do not announce to everybody I'm pregnant. A lot of shit can happen, people.
So, question: did they get pregnant during Baho ke darmiyan?
Yeah, of course, man.
Yeah, that's what. So I actually can we just segue into the music, because I have a whole bunch of things I want to say about the music.
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
So, Baahon Ki Darmiyan is the one song that I think actually it's still as great today as it was when it came out. It feels fresh. It's a beautiful song and it's absolutely lovely.
Totally bold song. It's a bone song.
But they're
like,
born in PG-13, like.
yeah. So like I remember like Sujoy I think tweeted about it, like he was just like, well, it feels like really like I don't know the word that you used, like you said,
Restrained romance.
yeah. So like in 2018, like you can really see like how hard they're like keeping themselves from like kissing or like doing anything. They both got they've got all their clothes on and they're just rolling around the room.
Oh my God, Sanskar.
But I know what happened there, right? I know what happened, basically. So Sanjay Leela came in. So we have this great sensual song, Salman. Manisha, listen. What I want to do, Salman, is you take your shirt off, and then we put lots of oils on your pec, and then you'll wear a dhoti that'll just slipping above your pubic region, and then you'll roll around and I'll have, we'll do baahon ke darmiyan. And Salman said, "Hat be," that's how it happened. That's what baahon ke darmiyan is like. No way. And the funny part is, so they totally bone in this. They're like smashing in this song. This is what this song is. And immediately after Salman leaves. And he doesn't kiss her because of sanskar. So wait a minute, they just boned, she's pregnant, but you don't want to kiss her? Like, how does that even make sense? And these are the kind of disbalance that this movie has between... I think a lot of this is just the era that they're working with.
Yeah.
They just couldn't do the things. And speaking of the era, which era is this movie set in? Because these kids are amazed about a gramophone. Like, wow, gramophone mein se awaaz aa rahi? Like, what is this? But then they also don't have phones. They don't have, but Salman is dressed up like contemporary, although he is wearing churiya in one scene. So I didn't even know, this is like the 60s, is this the 50s, is this 90s, which era is this?
It's that time and era that only exists in Sanjay Leela Bhansali's head, the days of yore, the days when there was a collection of things that Sanjay Leela Bhansali liked, like all these little things, and he just puts it in. Like you can see that in Savarya is probably like the closest successor to this film. Like I think like Savarya is basically not in terms of plot, but in terms of sentiment. That is the true blue successor to Khamoshi, because it has that same kind of, like a woman who's like sort of entangled in the emotions of her family and she's afraid to step out, and there's this stranger who comes and like tries to take her out, and like all that kind of themes that you see in Savarya, it's basically here in Khamoshi.
That also sounds similar to Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam for some reason.
Yeah, it does. Like you see these things coming again and again and again. And what Bhansali also does is he makes a fetish out of religion. It doesn't matter like what religion, like in Hum Aapke Hain Kaun and in Bajirao Mastani, you saw that with Hinduism. In Savarya, you saw that with Islam. With Khamoshi and that other one, the Hrithik as Jesus one, Guzarish. Like you see that with like Goan Christianity, and it's Goan Christianity. It's not even like like any kind of Christianity. It's very particular, a sort of filmy Baroque by way of Raj Kapoor Christianity. It's like like you can see the antecedents of that kind of like the religion that he's portraying in his films, and it's it's. You can see, and the only reason that he's able to not make it as jarring as it is once you sort of unpack it, like if you actually look at it and you sort of unpack it and you look at the elements and you examine them, it's very jarring and it's sort of vaguely racist, and it's really uncomfortable making, but it works in terms of like his film because he feels it and he's very able to show his feelings on screen, like that whole Helen arc, everything that Helen goes through, like her heartbreak, her character, the way that character deals with tragedy and with, all the challenges that she has to deal with. I mean, that part where, she's standing at the thing and like, she gets her little grandchildren to come bid goodbye to her piano, which she loves. And she's standing at that shore and then, she watches it go away from her. And then like that scene of her just like running into the countryside, waving a handkerchief. My heart was in a million pieces. I was like, oh my God, don't do that to Helen. But, like he could do that, like even with his really iffy directorial skills, as Asim pointed out. Like he could do that. He can really manipulate those strings really well.
Is this Helen's best role? Like as a performer, because Helen, honestly, for me it was before my era. You know, it was not like I was never like aware of Helen that much. I came to her much later, so I don't know if she has any like proper roles except being a dancer or whatever. I think this is her best role, right?
Like
No,
an
I've seen
acting
her.
credit.
Yeah.
No, I've seen her in like a couple of other things that I
Okay.
think like would like actually hold up pretty well. Like even like not just as like a heartbreaking thing, but like even in like in Dawn, like I thought was like a really great part for her.
I don't
You know, like the original Dawn,
Yeah.
where she was like spitting fire. But there's like other films where she's been like very like like really heartbreaking, and she's been able to. She's always been a good performer. She's been able to, because she's a great dancer, right? You can't be a great dancer without being able to emote. Like that's what a lot of people don't get these days, I think, with like all the item songs. They think like, oh, it's just about shaking your booty, and that's not it. Like the reason why Helen is a legend is because she's a fine actress.
Yeah.
But what this movie did was like she'd been away for like about 10 years at that point, I think 10-12 years, and then she came back and she looked completely different from the Helen that we knew, because I think the last we saw of her was like in Mungda or something, which is in the mid 80s. And then she came back and she wasn't like the same Helen. She really was somebody's grandma.
Yeah.
And everybody was just like, fuck, what happened? And then suddenly everybody was like, oh yeah, she can act. Like the fact that she wasn't sexy actually allowed people to sort of like look at her acting in this film. And I think that's what a lot of people reacted to. Not necessarily you, I'm saying, like,
Yeah,
when
no,
that-
that handkerchief scene really got me. Like, I thought it was very, very effective and well done. And I also think Helen goes really hard. Like, there's a scene where Nana Patekar is angry at his poor children because they stole some fish. Because this is misery porn and they don't have food and stuff like that. So she goes really hard. It's like, basically your father committed suicide because you're a disabled person. I was like, wow, like no filters, Helen. Like seriously, like take a chill pill, like seriously. And yeah, she just screaming these things at him, and it's like, wow, she goes hard, man. And then she's singing the next minute. So again, this is kind of Sanjay Leela Bhansali thing. But yeah, no, I thought she was great. And it was also great to see her dance like joyfully. I thought she was amazing. And I read on IMDb trivia, which I don't know how accurate it is, but Salman had to convince her to take this role. Which can I just say, I mean, like, it's pretty cool that Salman did this movie. Like, there was no reason for him to do this movie necessarily. But he's great in it. Like, he brings a lot of charm and joy, and it's a kind of a douchey role that he gets to a certain degree in it. And I think when he's on screen, I like, okay, we're done with the misery for a bit, He really is that, like in that final scene where, in that final speech that Nana gives, and he's doing sign language and Salman is translating for him. And he says, and then Raj came on his horse. That really got to me, man. Like, I was like, shit, like, because the thing is, like, you watch this as a kid, like 20 years ago, whatever, and you're basically Salman or you're Manisha, those are the people you identify with. Now I'm watching it, and the key relationship is the father-daughter relationship. And I was like, shit, man, like, the knight in shining armor thing, it really got to me. I was like, wow, man, this is so sweet. And Salman is like, he can't even say anything, and he's crying. I was like, man, that's where I was crying, man. It really got to me, like those final scenes, and that's where.
Sadly, by that time, I had given up on this movie. Like, seriously, I'm like, oh my god, get on with it.
Really? No. Yeah. It was. I think a lot of it is that framing structure they use, where the whole movie she's in a coma, then she has to go back, and now we have to get her out of the coma. And there's a lot of, like, every episode is intercut with Nana doing cardio on the beach. Like, his cardio is on point. Anything that happens, he just starts running like Forrest Gump on the beach. It's like,
and
wow.
fucking, he's a rage monster. He's so physical. He will like throw you all around. Seema Biswas, poor Seema Biswas.
Yeah.
She's like, oh my god, his punching bag.
let's talk a bit about Nana Patekar and Seema, because I think they are the heart of this movie, right? For most of it.
I mean, they're clearly the only two people in the movie that actually learned the sign language, because everybody else was just fudging it out.
Speaking of that, so for this year, for 1996, when the national awards were announced in India, the National Film Awards, and Manisha did not win the Best Actress for Khamoshi, and Tabu won for Machis, and she went on paper and press and went to town. She did all the preparation for Khamoshi and how she learned the sign language, and Tabu goes and wins it for Machis because she's got connections with Gulzar, and Gulzar has connections with everybody else. It was that
Okay.
just got memories.
As somebody who's seen Machis and somebody who's seen Khamoshi, Tabu absolutely deserved to win.
Definitely.
Yeah.
This is, and how much power does Gulzar have? Really, he's a power player? What is this?
Also, I forgot to say, it has to be some kind of gossip that I have to bring into this. So this is the period where Nana Patekar is at the height of his "I'm an artist" phase, where he's giving all these interviews about how nobody in India appreciates an artist, which fine, true enough. And then he goes about how he acts with Amitabh Bachchan, and he calls Amitabh Bachchan too, because they're on equal terms, and all this kind of stuff. And also, he and Manisha are in a relationship at this point.
Oh,
and,
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, Allah duhai.
Phir ja pe aayi hai.
So there was this whole period where Manisha became a bit of a krantikari, because she was with Nana Patekar. They were super artistic darlings, except Manisha was making mun with Amir. I was yeah, sure, baby, you're super artistic. But then she was also living with Nana and everything. But anyway, so I actually feel really bad for Seema Biswas, who is a fine actor and deserved so much more than she got from the Hindi cinema.
Yeah, not just from this movie. I mean, but just generally in Indian cinema, she didn't really. Yeah.
But she won the Critic Award Filmfare that year for Bandit Queen. Bandit Queen came out the same year.
Yeah.
I've never seen Bandit Queen.
No, you won't like it.
I know. That's why I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I tried to watch it, and then I was just nope. Thank you. Bye-bye. I had to nope out of it. And that's a movie that I feel I have serious iffy feelings about Bandit Queen. On the one hand, I'm that was the first time that an entire oppressed group's the first time you saw the interior life of somebody like that on Indian cinema, and that was a hugely important film. But on the other hand, it was also see, the problem with India, I won't say for the entire subcontinent, although I think it's true for South Asia in general, but I'm going to say about India in particular, the problem is that, how we talk about the male gaze and how the gaze of the camera can be different and blah, blah, blah. But in India, there's only one gaze, and that gaze is just toxic. And I remember that movie coming out, and people were sharing clips of
yeah, I remember that too. Yeah,
the rape scenes and everything, and they were talking about this is really hot and blah blah blah, and that's basically what really turned me off that film, because I was yeah, I cannot if you watch that movie and that's what you get out of that film, then no. So.
Yeah, but in this movie, I think they're amazing, especially in. I mean, because there is this underlying violence in Nana, because he cannot express himself. And he just does throw around a lot of things. He's slapping and he's being quite, physically violent. But I don't know, I feel he sold it, because he also has these moments of sensitivity and pride, and you really don't see disabled people being such complete humans in cinema as much as in this. They're getting drunk, and then when they get drunk, they're making fun of the fact that people will make fun of them, or they're making fun of Annie's singing, which is really weird because, that's, I imagine that's what you do when you're drunk, right? Especially in that song, come on, now I'm blanking on the name, the one you were talking about.
I know. I know what you're talking about.
Ye Dil Sun Raha Hai. Like, because she starts singing and there's this obvious moment where they're just sitting there to support their daughter because they cannot hear. But then suddenly Manisha puts her hand up and then the rest of the song she does sign language. And oh my God, it is such an effective moment. It really got to me. And especially because of the emotions that Nana and Seema Biswas are portraying. There's pride, there's joy, there's surprise that she's speaking directly to them, and finally getting that moment. They finally get what this talent that she has, that she wants to. They see her finally in her full glory, which they haven't seen because their world is so small. And that was such an effective scene. Even the scenes where there's the discussion that Nana wants Manisha to have an abortion, and Seema kind of comes in Willy's piano shop. Willy being a very kind of weird guy, I don't understand that character, but anyway, she comes in and she's like, I'm sorry that I couldn't protect you, and they have this conversation. And even just before Salman Khan comes in with his parents for the dinner, and she kind of gets embarrassed because Nana is eating. And it's such these little things Sanjay Leela adds, which I love about this movie, is that they get embarrassed because when they're eating, they're not conscious of the sounds they make when they're eating, or Nana wants to kind of uplift the mood and he puts a song on and the record stops and he doesn't realize, so he's just basically playing, he's dancing and singing, thinking that this will entertain his host, but he doesn't understand that the music in the back is gone. Or they had a huge fight and there was a song playing in the background on the gramophone, but he didn't realize and he just walks away and the song is still playing. It's these little things. It's wonderful. And I think Nana and I think there's a lot of it that Sanjay Leela has done himself in the movie that he makes very, because Sanjay Leela is basically, I won't make a contemporary movie unless somebody is disabled. Like, that's how he does it, right? Like Guzarish, Black, and this is all like set in our current time. They don't have this Baz Luhrmann type of theatrical thing. But then somebody...
Black is actually historical.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Like, I don't blame you because you can't actually tell. Like, it's all...
I think there's snow.
What is set in the 40s or something, or 50s? When is it set?
It's like, I think it's again one of those, like, I don't know, like, what era it's supposed to be, but it's like early 20th century, late 19th century, something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the real world, right? Like Bajirao is not the real world. It's this heightened Baz Luhrmann kind of vision that he has of the past. So maybe Guzarish is that too. I don't know what I'm saying. He just has a fetish for disabled people. That's what I'm trying to say.
Whilst we are praising Sanjay Leela Bhansali, and we have already spoken about Ye Dil Sun Raha Hai, and like my sister says, like the soundtrack is great, and you don't, first off, when you just hear the songs and before watching the movie, you would pick Baho Ke Darmiyan or Aaj Main Upar as your favorite song. But when you watch the movie and as the visuals come on screen, Ye Dil Sun Raha Hai just captivates you, because it's that telling of how these parents who had no idea of what their daughter does, and then they come to realize, and the sudden joy and pride and everything captured in that one song. It's just beautifully done. I'd also like to add this song that I absolutely love. It's Jana Suno, when they get engaged in the church, and the scenes that lead up to it when they are in the confession box and the father acts like an agent between them. It's so like fluff, Bollywood fluff, done so well, and it's like something that Sanjay Leela Bhansali is good at, and you could see such scenes probably evolve in his future movies like Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam perhaps, and like you see that, he can do romance.
But you know what, so there's like a couple of things that really struck me when I was watching this. Like, one is that he really does write his movies for this era of Salman. Like, it's not even like Salman today. He doesn't write for Salman of today. He writes for the Salman from this era, like the late 90s. Like, that is his forever muse. Like, people talk about Aishwarya and Sonam and Deepika and so on, but it's actually Salman. Like, that's who Sanjay Leela Bhansali
You've cracked the
like.
formula.
Yeah, that's what it is. Because Salman was like, he's such a chikna in this film. Like,
Yeah, he's
like,
such a chikna, yeah.
like, he showed up.
That's such a word.
Like, I think especially after I saw like the trailer for Race 3 and like everyone was talking about Race 3, Race 3, Race 3, and he's like like Asim said, like he's so bloated and like
in this one, the word I had, he has purti. You know, I couldn't find a better. He's like he has a lot of purti in this movie. Like, that was the key word.
Like Sameer Hawa Ka Jhoka, that is the muse.
Yeah. And, like, when Salman is in this film, like, and also, like, another thing that I really miss about Salman today, you can actually see, like, in this era, like, the mid to late 90s, you can see how comfortable he is with the women that he's acting with.
Yeah.
And I think you can see that with him and Manisha, right? Like,
yes.
Like, he's a lot more physical and a lot more physically comfortable with Manisha than he has been with, like, his heroines in the past. I don't know how many films. Like, like he kind of gives the vibe of being like a creepy uncle in like a lot of his latest movies. And I think that started after Aishwarya because he was just, hiring women who look like Aishwarya to prove a point or whatever.
Katrina, even, right? Even Katrina, he had that face.
Even with Katrina, like he doesn't relax in Katrina's presence the way he does in like this movie with Manisha, for example. And definitely not in like Hum Aapke what is it, Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam with Aishwarya. Like, that is probably the most comfortable he's ever been with like another, like a female co-star in any of his.
I hate saying that, but they're so good together in that movie. It is fire they're together.
Yeah.
It's honestly one of the best combos
we were
ever.
talking about the PG-13 restrained romance in Baho Ke Darmiyan, and you compare that with Aankhon Ki Gustakiyan when they are in the presence of everyone, and then there's still that fiery romance going on.
I think also Manisha and Salman were at that moment making 3 movies at the same time almost. So they had this, they had Ye Majdar, and they
totally
also
different era kind of a movie.
And Sang Dil Sanam, but they were all around the same time. They were making three movies together, so there was probably a level of comfort. But yeah, it looks, and it's genuinely funny. Like he does a bit of that Shah Rukh Khan kind of teasing in this movie too. Like you're very ugly when you smile, you look very ugly. But it gets to you. It's charming as fuck. It's like crazy. Like, and I cracked up when he's like, because Manisha's like, oh, you have to. My dad is never going to accept your marriage proposal, and Salman goes like, no, it'll go perfectly. I'll be standing here, Raj will be here wearing black suit looking handsome, and he will be standing next to me looking tic-tac. I just love that line. It cracked me up, and I felt this was kind of like, this is what Salman was at that era, I love it. And coming back to the song of Jana Suno Tum Pe Hum Marte Hain, what a composition, man. Like, Sujoy, I think you were saying it's ripped off from something. Is that the song?
Yeah, it's a song by Paul Anka called "Bring the Wine," and it's like copied note by note, like each and everything arrangement wise. But still, like I don't give a fuck. Like Udit Narayan sang it beautifully. The arrangement is great, and that whole scene just blew me away.
But just the idea of putting this composition in a Bollywood movie, which you hear it and you just feel it doesn't gel well. Like there's something weird about it, but it is such a good song. And like the word I was like, Udit belts this song out like top of his lungs, and it is amazing. It is such a good song. This whole soundtrack, man. Like even Hiya-ho with the
Remo Fernandez, not D'Souza.
Remo the other Remo, the good Remo. It's really good, and I remember like also like I was a young guy at that age. It really brought me back, and really had my nostalgia tinging when I saw this. I was like, oh my god, that Adidas shirt! I looked for that shirt for so long. I wanted to get that because that looked so good. And all in all, Salman is dressed so well. And that was again the thing, because I just seen Race 3, I was like, why is he not dressed like this? Like, it is, like, if I wore what he's wearing in this, except for the bangles and the neck accessories, it looks perfectly fine. He is well dressed for now. And he's not in Race 3, which is absurd. He looks great. He's dressed well. Manisha's hair, man. What is that? Like, it's like cemented curls. It looks beautiful. Like, Sanjay Leela does put a lot of effort in these kind of things. And clearly he was, struggling with a budget here. And this movie also failed, so that was also probably a big hit for him. But there's a lot, kudos on whoever gave him the chance to make Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam after this, because watching Khamoshi, they were really able to pick out, wow, this guy does have some talents, and if we give him the right story and the right platform and the right budget, he can really knock it out of the park, which he really did with Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam. I got a lot of tweets from people that they love this movie, and they love the soundtrack, and even a lot of people tweeted me to tell me this is their favorite Sanjay Leela Bhansali movie, which it's not for me. It's Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam probably, but it's the second best for me. The soundtrack for that is a big part. Can I ask you? And this is a question we've not discussed this on the podcast, but it's something I have tweeted before. Should Sanjay Leela Bhansali stop composing the music of his movies now? Like, if you go back to because he did from I think from Devdas onwards, right? He's composed all of his music himself.
No, Devdas was Ismail Dadar.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
From Guzarish onwards.
Guzarish onwards. And I don't think he's had any good songs since Guzarish. I mean, there's moments and the good songs are good because of the visuals that he adds in the clips, but the song on its own, they've not worked for me. So what do you guys think? Like, should he just let a few things go and get somebody to compose the music? Or you don't mind? Like, it's fine. Like the movie.
I mean, I think there have been people saying that as well. The whole music composition part is a big creative process in itself, and that sort of takes away from you the creative juices that you would actually just concentrate on making the movie. And probably that's why, in terms of the quality of his movies that have come out, well, again, he's only focused on historical pieces in the last couple of years. So I don't know. There is no easy answer, but I would rather have him concentrate on making movies and let the music be taken care of by somebody else who is, solely there for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel so in Guzarish, I really loved Tera Zikr Hai. That was my standout from that album. But that was definitely a learning curve for him. You could feel a lot of the songs in that album were really overproduced in my opinion. And then you could see him sort of calibrating it. And he's gotten better, I think, with each movie that he's been composing for. And I think I know why he does it. It's because he's a control freak and he has a very definite sound that he wants for each of his films. But the thing is, he's not his primary medium is always going to be the
visuals. Yeah.
So that's why he's a real artist. You can see his artistry come out in each and every frame of the movies that he makes. But he does have a ear for music, and I can see why he would think that he can do everything, but I really do think he needs to get somebody who can be a collaborator the way Ismail Dadbar was to him.
Yeah, and apparently they hate each other now. I saw an interview with Ismail. They don't get along anymore. I hope he can and I think that's one of the problems that he has with it. I've not liked most of his movies, the recent movies. And I feel a lot of it is because he focuses so much on the visuals and the details and the intricacies and being a control freak, and he lets go of the emotion. And the music is a big part of that emotional kind of weight of a movie, especially in Hindi cinema. It is just the way it is. And I was watching a few old interviews of him, and he was like always saying that there's a sur to a music. And I think Quentin Tarantino does that too. Before he starts making making a movie, he just goes through his album boxes and he just puts music on, and that's how he kind of rides the movie. And I think that's what Sanjay Leela Bhansali always means with a sur of a movie. So I think from that sur, he always probably has a theme in his head. And even in Khamoshi, there is a theme, and I have maybe a feeling that he composed it, or he said to Jatin Lalit, this is the piano sur of the movie that I need. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think he does a good job in his recent movies. I've not connected with any of them since Black. And they all look visually appealing, but they've not worked for me. But what are your thoughts on this new Sanjay? Because this Sanjay from Khamoshi is very different from the Sanjay Leela we have now. Are you guys fans of it? You know my feelings about it. Like I've explained it tons of time already. But what do you guys, Amrita? What do you think about Sanjay? Because he's touted as one of the best now, right? He is one of the best filmmakers.
Right, he is, like, in terms of his visuals, I don't think anyone else has the game that he has, especially when it comes to like dancing and like choreography. I know we're all like Farah Khan fans when it comes to choreography and stuff, but when it comes to like the experience, like the sets and the choreography all put together, I don't think there's anybody that does the work that Sanjay does. Like even today when I look at like Bajirao and that Sheesh Mahal song where what is it, the Diwani song,
Diwani
Mastani song, like it is a gorgeous piece of filmmaking. Like that is amazing. Like you could put that up on screen in 100 years and people will still gasp at it. Like that is amazing. But you are right about like the diminishing returns on like the emotionality of his films, especially when you compare it to something like Khamoshi. And I think a lot of it does have to do with music. You are right, because one of the reasons why like the reason I won't talk for everybody else, but I will talk about myself. And one of the reasons why that soundtrack was like so special, even after all these years, and why I could immediately reconnect to all those songs was because I could sing those songs. Like like I can sing that song to myself. Even today, I know the words, I know the lyrics because I used to sing that song. And I'm not a good singer, but I like it is something that I could like hum along to myself. Whereas today, like, his compositions, something like Albela Sajan, for example, it's an amazing song. I can't sing fucking Albela Sajan. Like, you need like, I don't know, like a master's in Hindustani classical before you can even attempt to do that. Like that's
I can do it. I can. Shall I do it? No. No, I won't do that. I've tortured you guys enough this episode.
Asim can go from like selfish to Albela Sajan. And it is true, like, for like emotionality to come through in a Hindi film, it is primarily through music. Like that is how, even today, if you play me like Mukesh singing for Raj Kapoor, like if I suddenly, like somebody starts singing like Avara, I would know the songs immediately. Like, I would start singing, I know the words, like there isn't, like, it doesn't matter if it was like my generation or not. Like I remember the songs and I used to sing it. So I think that is one aspect, like, and that is not just about Sanjay Leela Bhansali. It is about where Hindi cinema is today.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like rap songs and there's a lot of like that Punjabi, like trap kind of stuff that's happening. And it's catchy in the club, but it's not something that's designed to like live for forever or even for like 10 years or anything. The best we have are those interminable, like, Arjit Singh or Atif Aslam songs, which all sound exactly the same. Like, it's like literally like the same song that they're singing over and over again. So when I hear something like Khamoshi, like the soundtrack to Khamoshi, I feel happy because it just connects with like all these emotions just come. I don't even have, it doesn't matter if the material is dated. It doesn't matter if the acting is terrible. It doesn't matter if, I see inconsistencies. Like Sujoy and I were talking about like how Bahon Ki Darmiyan, like they really are like very sanskari, like too sanskari. It doesn't matter because the song itself does half the work, and that work is still evident today, even if like the visuals don't hold up. And that makes me feel sad.
I got two things on that. Like one, I think his compositions, the ones that he has now, they're good as themes for a movie, but they're not good enough as songs. And that I don't think he has the skill as a composer to actually make them songs. And they all sound the same to me, honestly. I mean, Diwani Mastani looks great on screen, but it sounds very similar to the songs he has then in the other movies he's done, Ram Leela and stuff like that. Like, they sound very similar because they're themes, they're not songs. And then he adds them with visuals, and they look great. You're right, but I don't go out and I don't want to hum them. And the second thing is, there's a really good interview with Anupama Chopra and Bhushan Kumar, the head of T-Series at the moment on Film Companion. I just watched it yesterday. And I just more and more I like interviews with these kind of people behind the scenes than actors and producers, because they're actors and directors, because they use a script mostly. And he basically says this is how he chooses songs. It's about the hummability. If you can kind of listen and come out and then just hum it, even if it's a dance track, something like Suraj Hua Hai, the one that he had like last year or 2 years before, you can hum that song. But yeah, Alvela Sajan or, even Diwani Mastani, to hum it is boring. Like, I don't want to hum Diwani Ho Gayi. Like, try humming that song. It's ridiculous,
That's a good point about it being like themes, because my favorite track from Savaria is actually the title track, the theme song, like Savaria Daras Bina Nahi Chain, which is an amazing track. But again, you can't hum it, but it is a haunting song that like really stays with you and really sets the mood for whatever follows on screen. But
even the towel song, right? It's so hummable.
It's hummable, but
it is that. Yeah, that is a cute song. It is a cute song. Yeah. But is it like Bahon Ke Darmiyan? No.
Yeah.
Like.
Even Binte Dil in the last one it was really... the other problem is also, it's hard to just... Like, we're in an era where we watch songs on YouTube or, stuff like that. And you don't want to... Like, it's weird if you're just watching Binte Dil on the tube. It's a weird feeling. It's, or the one where... Ranveer and Deepika are banging. I don't know what it's called. Lahuda Rang or Lal Rang, whatever it is.
Lahu Mu Lag Gaya.
Yeah, that's the one. Lal Rang, whatever. That one, or the towel song with Ranveer. So the good songs are like half like sensual, things. So it's just a weird thing to kind of, put on YouTube the whole time and with the family around, at least for me. They're good songs though. They're hummable themes anyway. Anything else we wanted to say about Khamoshi? Do you think people should watch it now? Like, it's already hard to watch, although I thought the Venus print on YouTube is not bad and it has decent subtitles, although there is, suddenly in the middle of the film there is a lag and the subtitles speed up faster than the movie itself, which is a bit annoying. But would you recommend this movie to people if they haven't seen it?
If you've seen Savaria and you liked it, then I would suggest you watch Khamoshi.
That was such a Netflix suggest answer. Like, people have shopped for this on Amazon, and also other customers have bought this.
It's just too dated. Like, it's not like you said, it just goes on for like too long, and there's like parts of it that you're just like, like why? Yeah. But the songs are amazing, and if you're like a super fan of Bhansali, and you want to see like where it all began, like those kind of things. But as a I'll tell you what, as a Salman Khan movie, no, I don't think you need to watch this.
I mean, he makes his entry at 40-minute mark.
Yeah.
Well, at the start he's Pona Pacheng at the start, but...
Oh, yeah.
For those of you who are like, what the hell are we talking about? That makes a lot more sense if you watch the movie.
Or just hear the soundtrack.
Yeah. If you watch like, wait, which is that song? It's the is it from Hiya Ho or is it from Gaate The Pehle?
No, it's Hiya Ho.
Hiya Ho, yeah.
Hiya Ho.
Okay. I would recommend you listen to the soundtrack. The soundtrack is amazing.
Sujoy?
Yeah, just listen to the soundtrack, man.
Yeah, I don't agree. I think the movie does pay off. It's a messy bitch of a movie, honestly. It has lots of issues, but I think the emotional payoffs are there. I think Manisha looks beautiful. She's shot beautifully. Like, there's moments where, like, she does remind me of, Aishwarya and Guzarish, like super pretty, like painting almost, like the way she's shot. But then she's just not as good of an actress, and a lot of these Sanjay Leela Bhansali movies are centered around the female character. In a way that people talk about, who's that guy again? Mahesh? No. The guy from Page 3, the director, what's his name?
Bhandarkar.
Bhandarkar.
Bandarkar.
Madhur Bhandarkar.
Yeah, Madhur Bandarkar. That's how I pronounce it. Bandarkar. They always say he's making female movies, but Bandarkar doesn't. It's clearly Sanjay Bhansali. And I think Manisha looks great, but she just doesn't have the talent. And I think, unfortunately, those key moments where she should be able to bring it, she can't. And that's kind of a bit of the failure of the movie. But everybody else around her is amazing in it. Salman is great. Salman is amazing. He looks great. This movie was like a mouthwash after watching Race 3. I just feel freshened and I'm back in love with Salman again, which was good. And Nana is great. Seema Biswas is great. The songs are great. So I still, it's still up there. I still really, really like Khamoshi. So yeah, I am still fully on board with it. It's a tough watch. It takes a while. And I think, Sujoy, what you did and I did, we watched it in 2 parts, and I think that's not conducive to watching this movie. You just need to commit and watch the whole thing in one go. Otherwise, it's a trek. It's a trek.
It basically sounds like homework.
ऐसे नहीं बच्चे, ऐसे.
It's good for you. It's good for you.
It's good for you. Yeah, just follow it. Okay. I guess that's it, right? Anything else? No, we're done.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
The next vote is going to be a listener's vote with an Amir movie. We're going to put the poll up, and we'd love to,
I'm kind of disappointed that Asim has completely dropped the bro.
I thought it was just good for the Race 3, and I get a lot, like, even the people that like our podcast send me, like, makhmal mein lapeta juta enough, right? Like, so I was like, let's tone it down. But I do want to end the podcast with my rendition of Pona Pache, if you guys don't mind.
I'm out.
So Sujoy, man, where can people find more of your work online?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter @93k.
Yeah. Amrita?
On Twitter as well at Amrita IQ.
Great. And I'm Asim Bharti. Thank you so much for listening to Khandaan again. Thanks for all the new listeners. We get so many every episode. It's amazing. I mean, I've been podcasting for a while, and the love we have for Khandaan, and people are so involved with it. They're tweeting you, Amrita, they're tweeting Sujoy, they're dissing Sujoy mostly. Poor Sujoy. Hey, by the way, last time I was saying, if anybody does anything to Amrita, I'll stand in front. I'll do the same for Sujoy. So don't think that you can just diss Sujoy in public and I won't come after you. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for all the new listeners, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with a new Khandaan episode. If you have any comments, you know how to find us, or drop us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com. And thanks for listening, guys.